gang, welcome back to the channel. The front end of the 72 may look a little different than the last video. We've done a little bit of work off camera just to speed things along because really you've all seen me paint at least twice or 20 times. Recap, we're primed, we got some undercoating in the front fender wells, and we'll get to that in a moment here. But what I'm gonna do now is work on putting some rust preventative and encapsulator in the cabin area. I found what should be a great product watching Jared over the Questionable Garage. He was touting this Sweet Patina product, which is a rust preventative and converter. And we're just gonna go ahead and lay it down. You can brush it on, you can roll it on. I think you can spray it on if you want to as well. Ready to spray. Stir it, do not shake it, as opposed to shaken, not stirred. Use on chassis and underbody components, brushed on, roll on, spray it on, apply to bare metal or rusted parts after proper cleaning. That is the important part, is proper cleaning. You don't just want to go ahead and drop this or pretty much any converter on chunky rusty metal. You want to go ahead and at least scrape off the chunks with a wire wheel or a brush or some cleaning process to get the big chunks off, and then you can go ahead and put a product like this on top. I've already gone through, hit it with a supplied wax and grease remover, Get Gone degreaser, and let that dry, and we're ready to just go ahead and dive into laying this stuff down. But first, I'm gonna stir it up. Now, we're not gonna sit through this entire process, but really it's just as easy as taking your brush, in my case a brush, if you're gonna roll it or spray it, I guess you do you, and just get a good even coat on here. The directions say you may need a second coat to get your desired effect depending on the starting condition of your surface. We're just going to go ahead and apply this to, of course, all the surfaces here in the tub, the firewall, the dash area here, and then work back into the back seat. And I did a lot of the other interior earlier, the pillars, the sail panels and whatnot, when we put the roof section on last year. So I'm not going to hit that as much, but I want to focus on the areas on the floor for sure, because there was some surface rust and pitting starting, and I wanted to make sure that it does not get any farther. It didn't warrant replacing the panels. We already did replace the passenger side very early in this project because that one did have some pretty significant holes in it that you were not going to be able to just patch in without a lot of effort. So this is what I'll be doing for the next hour or so. And while I'm doing this, let's roll back to when we were taking care of the paint and the underbody coating up in the engine bay. Well, we've got our engine bay prepped. We've got one coat of epoxy primer on here, two coats of high build 2K primer, and I do have some little bit of filling and spot puttying to do up in this cowl area. There was, of course, some rust and some pitting, so I'm going to try and smooth that out a little bit. But before I go ahead and do that and get our green, our sublime green color laid down, I want to go ahead and put the liner back, the undercoating back on the fender wells. And for that, I decided to go with the Raptor coat, underbody or bed liner, whatever you want to call it. I did look around at quite a few different options, and it came down between Raptor coat, Line-X, which I don't have access to, and POR 15. And I've used POR 15 in the past on the pickup tailgate, and I was not that enthused with the results. So I'm going to give Raptor coat a try. I got their four jug kit to do under here on both sides, the inner sections of the front fenders, and then also the tubs for the rear end and under the frame as well. Kind of put back that factory-ish undercoating, goopy stuff. So I've gone ahead and taped off all of my holes where stuff can get in, and I did clean off some other snarbus from the front of here that I kind of wrapped around, but I'm going to be careful, maybe put a quick tape bead on this front edge here. But otherwise, I'm going to go ahead, get our stuff mixed up. It comes in 4 containers, mix in some hardener. They give you a little gun as well, hook it up to your air compressor and go. So that is what I'm going to do. The wind unfortunately picked up a little bit since I got this in primer this morning, but we're going to make the best we can with what we've got. So let me go get that mixed up. We'll come back and spray some Raptor. Well, we've got our Raptor mixed up. Let's just give it a try. Again, I've not used this product before. I've used stuff similar, so we're just gonna send it, I guess. Few little overspray dinglies I can take care of, not a big deal there. But overall, seems to be going pretty well. This stuff seems to go on very well, actually. I'm pretty impressed. The coverage, I've got probably about 1/3 of the bottle left, so I'm going to let this stuff dry a little bit, come back, put a second coat on, just try and build that up a little bit, try and look like that factory finish, and then we'll wheel this thing back inside.
By sheer coincidence.
Behind me is an empty spot where a Challenger should be. Now, given our still unseasonably warm temperatures right now, I've gone and pushed it outside because it's time to get that thing an epoxy primer. I spent the last couple of nights doing a little final spot welds here, fills there, sanding, blocking, scuffed up all of our new metal with DA. We've waxed and greased and cleaned it and blown it and masked it and taped it, and now I've got a big gulp full of primer sitting behind me, epoxy primer. So we're gonna go outside. I wanna lay down epoxy primer, then I'm gonna give it some time to flash off, and I wanna lay down 2 coats of high build 2K primer, and that's gonna allow us to bring it back in here and do the remaining bit of metal work. There's just some light skimming to do on a couple of the rear areas. Doors and hood and fenders are over here. Those can get dealt with at a much smaller scale. But I want to get the car in primer, all that bare metal protected, because I don't think, well, I know I'm not going to get the whole car painted yet this fall. I'd still like to get the engine bay painted, but we'll see. For now, let's go outside. Well, as you can see, we got the whole thing in primer, or at least what's getting in primer now. I did get 2 coats of epoxy down and 2 coats of high build 2K primer, and that's going to allow me to continue on doing my final body work. Not so concerned on the roof, that's brand new and that's getting covered anyways, but I want to do a little final sanding in the engine bay, firewall area. Not a whole lot there because we've got that giant engine stuffed in here. A little bit of work on the quarter panel back here. The original one needs a little bit of assistance, and the new one looks pretty good. But basically we're going into winter and I want to make sure this thing is protected from the elements. We are in the shop, but it is not insulated and not horribly climate controlled yet. So I want to make sure it is set for the winter, so come springtime we can get our paint booth set up and at least get the engine bay going and the front end back on. I've contemplated a couple of different ways to do this, and the weather is just starting to get too chilly in the evenings. I mean, it's 74 degrees right now, but like this morning it was 38 degrees. Next week it's going to be 29 degrees in the morning. That's cooler, larger temperature swings that I'm comfortable with painting and not having either an oven to bake it in or sustained temperatures above 70 or 80 degrees for a few days so that everything can gas off and flash off and cure. So yeah, I think if I had 3 or 4 days solely dedicated to working on this, I could have it ready and get our green paint down this fall. I just don't have that availability right now with regular job, family, other responsibilities. So that is going to allow us to do the next thing, the back end. The rear end, the diff, leaf springs, shocks, those are all coming off for a couple of reasons. One, everything's going to get cleaned and undercoated, and secondly, all the bushings and rubbery bits are getting replaced in the shackles, the suspension, and new shocks in the rear. So that's the next step I'm going to do, is figure out a way to keep this thing from rolling around the floor and work on taking off our rear end, wheeling that out and putting it somewhere, and we can keep moving forward. The back end of this is now jacked up on stands. I've started to knock loose some of the hardware for the shocks. I already loosened up the rear leaf spring hardware a couple of days ago to try to make sure things are free so we can get everything apart without it breaking or being troublesome. So far we're going pretty good with that. So I'm gonna see if I can lower you down a little bit more. Basically, I think I've got 2 4 bolts for the leaf spring hardware, and then 2 bolts for the shocks to come off the differential. There's still 2 more bolts up in the trunk, but I've got to either have a helper and hold 1 bolt up here, or figure out how to keep one of them stationary and then hit the other one with the impact. Anyways, let's go ahead to see if we can get the bottom of this hardware knocked loose, and hopefully the rear end should roll out pretty easily. I think I have a brake line that needs to be loosened, and it's probably just going to get cut because I plan to replace all of them anyways. So let's just get to it. These here are loose. I already removed them. Let's see how those things pound out. A little uncertain of that. We got 2 more up here that come out. Hopefully I can get them with the impact, but with my luck, probably not. Nope. I'll look at those later. So I can sneak around the side. If I can catch this hardware. And of course not. So it's time to scoot over and find some wrenches. $11/16. Now, picked myself up a new creeper a few weeks ago. It was on sale at the Hobo Freight, And B, my other one has been missing a wheel for quite a while. I'm really digging the headrest here. I could probably take a nap here. Let me go roll over here and see what we've got. Those are not 11/16ths. Those are bigger. This is a whole lot better than the dirt. Much better. Nope. 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 All right, all of our hardware is off. I should be able to knock those rear shocks loose. And I guess I've got to get these pins out for the shackles. And hopefully everything should just walk its way back. Sorry, you're looking at my good side. Okay, yeah, it's just disintegrating in my hand. All right, let's see if I can knock these rear shocks loose. Okay, you're out. You're out. Gotta get those out. Yeah, these brake lines back here are pretty crispy. Good thing we're doing our disc brake conversion anyway, so hey, here we go. Now if you can see, it looks like the rear end wants to come out. You just need to get these couple of bolts out here for the rear shackles, and then hopefully it'll come out, not on me. Let me fight with that, and oh, my clock died. It's later than I thought. I'll be back. Well, if you like the jacked up look, we've got that going on right here. I did a lot of heat, those rubber bushings in the shackles, if you know, end up kind of welding themselves all together. So I had to heat them up, pry them out, and regardless, we're gonna get a new set of shackles anyways because, well, these got hot and bent and they're old and bent and we're not gonna put them back in. But I went ahead, jacked up the vehicle, pulled off the front bolts for the leaf springs, so now I should be able to just roll the whole thing out from underneath the car. At least that's my goal if I don't have tools and hardware underneath to block me. Okay, I've got my two shocks are kind of in the way. All right, you can get up and out of the way. Mostly out of the way, we'll deal with that in a second. But I should be able to just walk these back now. Yep, get the shocks out of the way and they'll come back. Prefer not to spend too much time under here for obvious reasons. until I get it on something a little better than a couple of old jack stands. Oh, parking brake. Let me take care of you. Well, if we weren't replacing that before, we are now. Oh, there's one over here too. All right, try this again. Go ahead and walk this rear end out of here. Oh, wheel well. I gotta go up higher or off to one side. Would you look at that? Would you look at that? Okay, so I've got to find my other couple of dollies, get some cribbing under this rear end, get off these jack stands because, well, I just don't trust them. They're not from that one store either, but I just don't trust them. So let me get this blocked up. Last thing we've got to do is tear off these two shocks up here. But first, like I said, we've got to get it on some blocking so it's safer. Well, we've got it on blocking. It should all roll around freely now. There we go. Yeah, hopefully it should stay where it's at. I've got some mess to clean up down here. But I think for now, I'm going to table this topic because, well, like I said, the temperature is, well, for me, next week it's going to be in the low 30s, high 20s overnight, and then only up into the 50s, low 60s during the day. So clearly not prime for painting. So I'm going to find something else to work on. I don't know what yet. Maybe I can work on getting this rear end rebuilt, the brake swap done, plenty of other tasks I think I can do. We'll see if I have another stretch of warm weather. I'll work at getting some green paint up in that engine bay. But for now, I think we've gone pretty far this season. So if you haven't yet, hit that subscribe button below. We'll try and find more content to come out. Winter's getting rough, and well, this really can't go up to the shop or the garage now to get painted without wheels on it. So that's gonna be kind of limited. Maybe we'll bring up the 52, get some final body work done on that and get that ready for paint. But also coming up, we are gonna be working on bringing that abandoned motorhome back to the property here. We've got it scheduled in a few weeks to go up and get that off the property where it's at and hopefully get it back to HQ without too many issues. I guess we'll find out. Until the next video, have fun doing whatever it is you're doing, and we'll see you soon. Oh yeah, I've got some merch out too. Check out the website in the description below. See you later.